Do you ever find yourself, when you're editing, to have a transition that just looks choppy no matter what you do? Well, now we're going to learn how to blend seamless transitions by hand. So, we're using KineMaster. Open a new file and select whatever aspect ratio you're using. 16:9 works for me based on the way that I shoot. If your camera is up and down, you'll use 16:9 up and down. This tutorial is for editors and content creators, or generally for anyone who's looking to get into that type of thing. So to start, we'll open media. We're gonna go over to the camera and pick a clip. This one is about 15 minutes long, so we're gonna throw this one in there and then hit the check mark up in the right hand corner. Alright, so here we have some footage of some birds in my little corner there that I have all my bird feeders in. But what we want to do is see this bird flying in from the upper left hand corner of the footage here. When you click on a clip, it shows what you can do to it. We're going to put a cut in here. Use the scissors to cut. Pretty simple to remember. We're going to split it right here at the playhead, and then this footage of the bird coming in, we want to zoom in on that and capture that. Now, this whole footage is literally clipped to my screen door on my deck, so it's 15 minutes of a still frame, and I'm going to try to make it appear sort of like those National Geographic type videos where you watch the nature. So we've clipped off the section of the bird flying to the feeder. Now there's a good section while he's up there eating, and we're gonna go ahead and cut that in a very prime location here very shortly. And when we get that cut, we're gonna move on down the line. And we're going to basically go starting by just cutting what we want cut, and then go in afterwards and we'll blend those transitions together. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. So we're going to go ahead and cut again. And then this is the part where we have, there's another bird coming in, I think. Oh yeah, here he comes from the bird feeder over to the gate that I made out of that pallet. And I wanted to sort of capture that as he flies in. Now that I have your attention, let me ask a huge favor from you guys. If you find this stuff interesting, please hit the subscribe button right here. Boom, landed. So then we're going to cut there again. And I'm going to just continue to look where he's going and then go back and frame him in. And then I'm going to try and pay attention to various birds here with different types of shots, all from still frame. So if I were to go and show you each one of these that I did, now mind you, I'm recording the voice after the fact. I just used a screen recorder to capture my process. But I'm going to cut some of this footage out, otherwise you'll be here for about 45 minutes watching me do the whole process, when I can explain how I get there with just a few shots of what I'm doing. The real meat and potatoes is towards the end, and I don't really want to drive you to wait that long just to get information that you came to see. And I feel like most of you know how to split and create little shots. It's bringing them together and flowing them together without having your camera jump around. That's what we're after. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some of this footage out and get to where you guys want to be. So stay tuned. So we're at the beginning of the project here, and I'm going to show you real quick the basics of how to crop a clip. So here we go. Let's open up the crop. Beginning position, zoom into where you want it. This is at the beginning of the clip. and then it will gradually move to the end position, which is at the end of the clip. Pretty basic stuff, and this is a video for a little bit more of a finesse kind of trick than it is for how to do a simple crop. But we're going to be going from cropped shot to cropped shot and transitioning in between some of them seamlessly. Others, I like to use a crossfade, like when changing elevation or from one subject to another. So for this shot and the one that I just showed you before it, I'm just going to use a crossfade because it's changing subjects. But when I'm following one particular bird and I'm moving around doing different types of shots, going from zooms to pans and whatnot, I'll show you how to blend those later. But for now, I'm just going to continue to crop these, and I'll get back with you a little bit later when we have everything laid out the way that we want it. So stay tuned. Coming back at you very soon. Alright, so I've got everything laid out now, and what I'm going to do is, for this one, where I'm switching subjects like I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to use a basic, classic crossfade transition. And then comes the meat and potatoes, this guy here. So in order to blend these clips together, what we're going to need to do is select the first clip in line of the two we're going to blend. Then we're going to move the playhead all the way to the end of that clip and select the box in the left-hand side of the screen with the brackets and select Capture Frame and Add as Layer. Doing that is going to place a still frame underneath the clips. We're going to take that and shorten it so that it's just barely across both frames that we want to blend together. After you have that done, we're going to go in and select that layer and then turn the opacity down. So select your alpha option, go into it, and we're going to turn it down to about 61 to 62%. So now we're going to select the layer, and when you do that, after you've set your opacity, it will show you what I like to call marching ants around what is visible. And you're going to move those ants to where they're just outside our view of visibility. In doing that, you're creating a placeholder. This will show you where one frame ends and the next one should begin. So you'll notice that when you're on the clip to the left, it's not as blurry as when you're on the clip to the right. So select the clip on the right, and we're going to go in and crop it. So select the crop tool, open it up, and you're going to move that clip around to match with the layer. And once you do that, it will become immediately more crystal clear. As you can see, it's starting to come into focus. You might have to play with the stretch of it and make sure that it's all in the right proportion. Try to use several reference points. For instance, I'm using the small branches, the bird, and the bird feeder to all make sure that the image is completely lined up. So when you've gone ahead and got that done, you can exit out of the film clip and reselect the extra layer of the still frame. And when we select that, we're going to go ahead and go back to the opacity, and we're going to turn it all the way down to nothing so that you can no longer see that. So it should look like this when you're all done on the opacity setting. So we're going to go back and watch the clip now, and you'll notice that it doesn't jump around. So that was from one clip to another, no transition, and it didn't jump like these ones are doing. Notice how it goes from one point to another, like it snaps. And that's what we're trying to eliminate here with this tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and set up another layer, Going to stretch it out so that the marching ants are no longer visible. Drag it down so that it barely overlays both clips. Drop the opacity of that layer, which is what I'm about to do here shortly. In the meantime, try to pay attention as I go along to how much these shots jump. So we're going to go ahead now and adjust the cropping after the alpha opacity has been changed. Sorry, I forgot to do that. That's why I was having a hard time. So you can see where the bird feeder should be and where the bird feeder is. And once you move them around, you're able to get a better idea of where they should be versus trying to guess or busting out a measuring tape and trying to measure how far from the edge of your screen an object needs to be, or whatever other crazy methods you may have tried to come up with while doing something similar to this. So this is just something that I do in between each of my shots when I'm trying to shoot them in a certain way so that everything will appear smooth and won't have that choppy feel where you're doing a hard cut from one clip to another. So if you need a few minutes to watch how I do this, I'm going to do it several times now. I won't go into as deep of an explanation, but seeing it done throughout this project will be a lot easier for you to grasp than if I sit here and explain it 10 times. So there I am again, just moving the cropping to line up with that outside layer and then drop that down. And you shouldn't see much of a change in where your frame is at once you drop the opacity down on your still frame layer. So that's not to say that classic transitions and all these other ones don't have their place in the world, because they make things a lot easier, a lot more uniform. They make things just all around more simple. But sometimes as film creators and content drivers, we like to get creative. We like to see if we're capable of producing high-end content. And this is one of those tutorials where you can learn how to do some of the things that maybe the professionals just have a button that they push and do. You know, this is how you do it by hand. Anytime you can use a layer and an opacity to help you in any type of digital media, it almost always makes the project go by a lot easier. Back in the day, they had lines up on everything, and those lines would show you a roundabout where something was supposed to be. But the days of analog filming are over, and now everything is digital. So if all you have is a phone and you don't have a budget, this can be done on a laptop. Don't be mistaken. But if you don't have a budget for high-end filming software, this is a technique that you can use that I do believe will make your videos look a lot more professional if they aren't already. And if maybe you're trying to just experiment and have some fun, this can be applied in many different ways. You don't just have to be shooting live targets. I shouldn't say it like that. You don't always have to be filming moving elements. This can be done in any manner of way. You can use this technique while you're actually filming body cam. Say there's something that you didn't want the audience to see, so you backtrack and you go a different direction. You can feed those clips together very efficiently using this method. It doesn't really matter what you're trying to film, as long as you have fun doing it and as long as you're happy with the level of production. You might not find this technique can be used in any place, but I definitely feel like you'll know when it should be used. When any other transition just seems hokey or seems like it just doesn't fit into what you're trying to do. And when you get to that point, you'll know. Because all your transitions will just look kind of blah, and they'll have you'll be able to tell where one clip starts and the next one ends. You'll be able to tell even with your transition, which is ultimately there to serve one purpose, to hide the fact that you're transitioning. And a crossfade or a zoom out work great when you're just trying to signal to the viewer that this clip's over, we're moving on to the next one, and this is the standard in which it's done. But if you're trying to hide that transition from your viewer entirely and make them think that it's literally just one clip and that there's been no break in the filming whatsoever, let's say you want to get a job at CNN and your job is to make someone look terrible when really they're doing a good job. You're going to need stuff like this to make it look like a guy falls on his face while choking on a pretzel trying to tie his shoe while running a marathon. You're not going to be lucky enough to get all those things at once, but if you have a fairly steady film clip, you can sew these together to a point where no one even knows that you had an issue or that you had two separate clips and that you passed them off as one seamlessly. No one will even know. And ultimately, that's the goal. So I'm just about done running my mouth. Here for the end, I'm just going to go ahead and play this through for you one time, all the way, no interruptions. That way you can get an idea of what it looks like when everything is pieced together nicely. So stay tuned, folks. I'm almost done. We're almost finished with the editing process for this video here that I'm showing you. Still have some work to do on my editing for this video, the actual tutorial. This is my first one, so if you guys found this interesting, please leave some comments below. Also, if you think I could have done something better, please feel free to throw out any and all suggestions. They are all welcome. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my speech here and get back to showing you guys what this video looks like from beginning to end with no interruptions. So I think this is the last one that I got to drop the opacity on. It should all be pretty slick from here on out. So we'll go ahead and start it over and let you guys watch. Enjoy. Hey guys, also one last thing. Please, please, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Appreciate it, and thanks for watching. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.